Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact, and enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be forgotten.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello, and welcome to Occultae Veritatis podcast. I'm Ood Gallifrey, and in studio with me I have...
Paige Murray.
Leon Filger.
Richard Bigley.
Don Kessler.
Oh, Don's here, out of nowhere.
Don Kessler.
Don Kessler.
And I'm Quentin.
I'm Cody.
And I'm Arthur.
I've had a recurring nightmare that I will die by drowning.
Oh, no.
Drowning or drowning?
Both.
Little from column A, little from column B.
Drowning and drowning. Both. Okay, yeah. I don't know what the difference is, but the one that involves water is the one I have nightmares about. Yeah, so I think I understand the tight-chested, anxious feeling about what may be hidden below the water surface better than most. The mundane creatures found in the depths are already scary, from the world's biggest animals to some of the smartest apex predators in the ocean. But even reality doesn't account for what human imagination could invent. Fleeting glimpses of creatures and objects combined with legend and story created worldwide monsters that lived in streams, rivers, and oceans around the globe. Every country has its own collection of lake monsters. And today, just like last year, we're going to dive into 10 more countries to learn about those countries' lake monsters that you may not have heard of. So we dive into Jamaica, Ukraine, Bolivia, Mexico, Chad, Madagascar, Spain, the Bahamas, Malaysia, and Japan today. But before we fly out to our first stop for lake monsters, let's go to Jamaica for some rum. What's your poison?
Nice.
So, what's your poison?
Each one of them shows up and demands tree fitty.
It's true.
I need about a tree fitty.
I need tree fitty.
He was about 300 feet tall, and he said, I need about...
Goddamn lake monster.
Goddamn lake monster!
And there's this cute little Girl Scout, and she says to me, how would you like to buy some cookies? And I said, we'll take a graham crunch. Well, it was about that time that I noticed this Girl Scout was about 8 stories tall and was a crustacean from the Plesiozoic era.
So we have some Appleton Estate rum. I think Appleton Estate is one of those staple things that you think about when you think about Jamaican alcohol and exports. When I went to Jamaica, I didn't end up going there, but there's an option to tour the estate, so I think there's some big tourist dollars around it. So let's have a taste of Appleton Estate rum.
I want to point out that I've had Appleton's rum, and it'd be the best rum I've ever had, which is the stuff that actually came from Jamaica. And I've also had some of the worst rum I've ever had was Appleton's Estate, so...
I have way too many bad stories with rum.
Oh, it's white rum for me. It's my 13-year-old bad drink.
Appleton's in particular. One too many nights of drinking it. Still delicious, though.
Oh, yeah. I quite like it.
Ugh. It's not delicious.
Oh,
no, this is not great.
Meh. It just tastes like cheap rum to me. Yeah. 2 mess out of 10. Yeah.
But it's the signature series.
But you know what?
They use the shiniest apples.
This is absolutely the kind of rum I would do up a rum and coke.
Yeah, this is to be mixed with sugary liquid.
Next recording, remind me to bring rum I brought back from Cuba. We can.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah,
I like that.
Nice Cuban rum.
I used to go for Sailor J's, but they're kind of It's pretty cheap. And then the
Captain Morgan private stock, actually, if you want a sipping rum.
Yeah, interesting.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I very much trust your opinion.
There's a nice Polish potato vodka called Lusca.
Lusca.
Or Or that way of saying it is probably better.
We'll trust the bartender. Well, you're a little more than a bartender.
More like a librarian for the sheer amount of vodkas we have. We have over 100 different vodkas on our shelf.
Damn.
I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10 because I hate it, but I'm still going to drink it because I'm trashy.
Extra adult mouthwash. It's great. All
Beats
right.
Listerine.
This afternoon is about myths and monsters and a little bit of science. And that really defines, I suppose, Loch Ness in many ways. But I have a problem. And the problem is that over 1,000 people, as Dr. Paxton has said, have seen Loch Ness monsters. And I think they are honest and also sober. But I can't find them. Rupert Gould, an author, investigated the sightings, and he'd been studying reports of sea monsters and sea serpents. And this really was a Scandinavian tradition from Norway. And at the beginning of the 19th century, a similar creature was also seen by hundreds of people off the coast of New England. So he found that that sort of multi-humped monster was seen also off the west coast of Scotland. And by the way, that sort of monster is still with us, the sea serpent. Now, you heard about Mary Anning this morning, and Mary Anning was digging fossils out of the cliffs at Lyme Regis, one of which was a plesiosaur, that long-necked creature, contemporary with dinosaurs, but it wasn't a dinosaur. And unfortunately, of course, plesiosaurs are extinct, aren't they? But we would like them to be there, wouldn't we? Of course we would. We love prehistoric monsters. Mary Anning's fossils actually generated a lot of interest. And the plesiosaur entered literature. It was even made into concrete models after the Great Exhibition of 1852. And you can see them to this day in Sydenham. And towards the end of that century, the 19th century, the sightings of sea monsters began to include things very much like plesiosaurs. From, again, Rupert Gould's book, we have these illustrations. It wasn't until September, some months after the Spicers saw that long-necked thing, that we have long-necked reports from Loch Ness. And there it is. There is the iconic picture taken a year later by a London surgeon, the icon known all over the world of the upraised head and neck. But we've got another problem, because recently it's been pointed out that perhaps plesiosaurs can't raise their heads and necks like that. And it's all to do with spinous processes, these lumps on top of the neck vertebrae. You see, it could bend its neck down, but if it tried to come up, these would lock together. So that's disappointing, isn't it? We've got a plesiosaur that cannot raise its head and neck. So the Loch Ness investigation began in 1962, putting cameras around Loch Ness for a decade, for 10 years, trying to reproduce those classic pictures, including the surgeon's picture. And they failed to do that.
So we're going to go on a whirlwind tour of the world. We're going to return home at the end, but first we're going to go to a country that's a little far away, Jamaica. Population 2.8 million. Official language English. The official animal is a type of bird. Anybody want to guess which one?
No.
It's a hummingbird.
Oh, that's cute.
A red-billed hummingbird.
In Jamaica?
Yeah. And their national food is ackee and saltfish, which is Jamaica's national fruit sautéed with fish. I think I actually tried that when I was there.
Ackee?
Ackee.
There's also the mountain chicken.
Mountain
Do you
chicken.
guys know about the Jamaican mountain chicken?
No.
Oh, yes.
Also
yes.
known as the giant ditch frog. It's a critically
It's a frog.
endangered species of frog called the mountain chicken.
Oh, I hope it doesn't die out. That's very cute.
Leptodactylus phalanx.
Alrighty. Chief export. It's a type of metal. Anybody want to guess? What does Jamaica mine for to make $460 million a year?
Marijuana.
That's not a
Steel.
metal.
Let's go steel.
Gold?
Iron.
Plutonium.
It's actually aluminum oxide.
Fuck, I was gonna say.
Aluminum.
I believe you.
Aluminium.
I really do.
Aluminium.
Especially since you're so interested in aircraft. A lot of aircraft are aluminium. And the lake monster from Jamaica we're going to look into today is the River Mumma. Essentially, the River Mumma is a mermaid who, according to legend, is the mother of all fish in and around Jamaica. And she has grown very, very angry with humans for eating and killing her children. The River Mumma is not Disney's mermaid. It's more along the lines of the lead you to your death siren mermaids of ancient legends. Beware the River Mumma. She's most commonly spotted sitting along the riversides of Jamaica combing her long black hair.
Wait. So their national food is a fish that they eat, but they also have a sea creature that doesn't want them eating their fish.
Yeah, because every single fish is one of her babies.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's straight up
It sounds like a way
disrespectful.
to agitate the monster deliberately, you know?
Oh, and how?
Not only are we going to eat the fish, but we're going to make it a national dish.
It's like, hey, mermaid, your kid's on the menu. Upon seeing her, so people will spot her sitting along the riverside, combing her long black hair. When they spot her, people will fall into a hypnotic trance, causing them to walk towards her like a shambling zombie. When they're with arm's reach, the River Mumma will grab them and lead them to a watery death, dragging them below. According to legend, the River Mumma has been there as long as Jamaica has, but became more enraged at humans after the Spanish conquistadors arrived. Apparently, the Jamaicans that were there before responsibly fished her children, and she was sort of okay with that. But after the conquistadors arrived, they greedily emptied her oceans and ate her children. And apparently at one point they threw a golden table belonging to a Jamaican king in one of her rivers. And that golden table still makes appearances. It's said that on hot days, the table will rise from a random Jamaican river. And if anyone spots the table and greedily tries to approach it to take it, the River Mumma will drown them to their death. The River Mumma is a double-edged sword. Legends tell stories of Jamaicans banding together to scare the River Mumma out of Jamaica, like hunting her down. In times, they said that they were successful and the Mumma left for a time, but then Jamaica experienced a drastic shortage of fish, followed by starvation. So the current attitude, at least in mythology, is to stay out of the River Mumma's way, don't overfish her waters, but also don't kill her or drive her out of Jamaica, or the fish will leave with her.
Well, that's kind of an ecological message in that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have every member of the food chain.
Sustainable aquaculture.
Yeah, including the hypnotic fish-birthing mermaid lady.
And it's anti-colonialist.
We love
true.
that.
Oh yeah, she hates the Spanish.
I think I'm coming out on side of the River Mumma, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I gave birth to all those kids and then the country made my kid the national dish, I think I'd be a bit salty. I might drown a few
fish,
people. Yeah. Oh, it is the saltfish. Fuck.
The Rio Cobra is a river as old as our ancestors. It lies deep in the valleys of the St. Catherine countryside. This river has had its fair shares of myth and duppy stories. One present story that encompasses Jamaican culture is the fabled creature River Mumma. It is said she still haunts the Flat Bridge and the Rio Cobra. Living beneath one of the oldest bridges in Jamaica, Flat Bridge used to be the only connector between the north and the south coast of the islands. The supposed home of the River Mumma was crucial to Jamaica's economic growth as a nation by serving as a connection point between assets and export. It is said trying to capture the river mistress will either leave you gravely ill or dead. The fish in her fresh waters are her children and should not be caught, as suffering will be a consequence for such an action, and to catch her will cause the Rio Cobra to dry up. She resides in the waterways, acting as a protector of the water and the animals that live in it. It is also said that the river mistress only shows her face when the river turns lizard green. Some stories have her pulling fated cars overboard Flat Bridge, Others have her rescuing these same passengers from imminent death. She is sacred but feared in Jamaican folklore and is remembered in many books such as The River Mumma Once Out by Lorna Goodinson, where she speaks of responsibility that no one wants to take care of the thing that matters most, such as the environment. In the past, people would go to the river bank to sing, dance, meal, and bring food to the River Mumma. Legend has it that on moonlit nights one may be lucky to catch sight of her, as she will sit on a boulder and comb her hair with a golden comb. In other areas of the island, it is said that for one night every year, the mermaid leaves her underwater home to visit the surface. If frightened while combing her hair, she would dive into the water, leaving the comb behind. It is believed that anyone who finds it will become rich. Wanting the comb to be returned, the mermaid would approach the finder in a dream and direct them to a treasure underwater. This treasure, according to folklore, is said to be gold that was left by pirates who had forgotten the hiding place.
Next up on our journey is Ukraine. Population 44 million. Official language Ukrainian. Official animal nightingale. Does anyone want to guess what the national food of Ukraine is?
Pierogies, cabbage rolls, kubasa, borscht.
That's the one, borscht. A sour soup, mostly made with meat stock and veggies, often served cold.
Quick, just shout every Ukrainian food you can think of.
You got it.
You can tell it's a Saskatchewan podcast when the hosts are all very familiar with every Ukrainian food.
Right. What do you think the chief export is at $27 billion a year?
Grain?
That's the one, grains. Mostly wheat, corn, and barley. And the lake monster from Ukraine we're going to talk about today is the Somin Lake Monster.
What's the name of that one Ukrainian beer, that good one? Slovich? Is that what it's called? That's
it's Slovidich.
Is that what it is?
I drank a lot of it when I was in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's really good.
So the Somin Lake Monster. Picture a saltwater crocodile. 30 feet long, thick hide, expert swimmer, but with the head of a python.
Ooh.
Complete with sharp snake fangs. And not feet, but thick flippers. That is basically what the Somin Lake Monster looks like. Lake Somin is deep and full of underwater caves. Locals believe this creature hides in those caves deep in slumber until its hunger rises and it must find a fisherman to prey on. When it is close to feeding, locals report loud groaning sounds echo from the bottom of the lake. When it feeds, it says that its maw is large enough to swallow grown men whole. Me too.
Me too.
Yeah. The legend of the Somin Lake Monster has had real-world economic effects, as Ukraine has noticed that even though the lake is full of fish, it sells far fewer fishing licenses for that lake because many fishermen believe the monster will get them if they fish that lake. It's become known as the Lake of the Brave Fishermen because only brave fishermen will fish on Somin Lake.
How do you spell?
S-O-M-I-N.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Early in the 1900s, the people surrounding the lake took the monster very seriously, and there were actual reports from the town surrounding that they were gathering resources in order to hunt the monster down. Then World War I happened. Then World War II happened. Since then, there's been no coordinated government effort to hunt the Somin Lake Monster, so the Lake Somin Monster remains a legend that scares modern-day fishermen.
So they just kind of didn't get around to it, is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Just other things came up, and they just never got around to it.
Yeah, World War I, big hubbub.
Okay.
Lot to deal with. You know, they got taken over by Russia, the Soviet Union, and then they had to live under occupancy for a while, and then they got released again. That whole thing. Next up is Bolivia. Population 12 million. Official language, it actually has Spanish and 36 other languages. Mostly indigenous languages. The official animal of Bolivia is the llama. The national food is the saltina, which is a baked empanada with chicken, olives, raisins, and spices. Its chief export is another metal. Anybody want to guess?
Gold.
That's the one. $3.78 billion a year gold.
I love gold!
They're also a big export on petroleum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, petroleum and other products that are received through the nostril. And the lake monster from Bolivia we're going to talk about today is, I'm glad I get to talk about it, the Lake Titicaca monster.
Gotta love Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
Lake Titicaca.
Titicaca. Can we all just say
Lake Titicaca.
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 Lake Titicaca is pretty unique.
You realize that's tit shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tit, shit, actually. There's a frog that looks like a nutsack.
Oh, I see it.
Can you type in testicle frog, Lake Titicaca? It's amazing. So I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot, but this is important.
Telmatobius culeus or the scrotum frog from Lake Titicaca? Hold on. I had it on my piss off. Eat shit. I'll fuck you up. There you go. Yep.
Oh, it looks like a scrotum.
That's a scrotum frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wonders of nature. Yeah, it has a lot. It has a lot of different species of frogs that can't be found anywhere else. It also has a great amount of biodiversity. So, unlike Loch Ness, this lake could probably support a monster.
At an altitude of over 3,800 meters, Lake Titicaca is in the heart of the Andes, which stretch the length of the South American continent. It sits on the border of Bolivia and Peru. 200 kilometers long, the lake is also the birthplace of Andean Indian mythology. The Uros used to live on the shores of the lake, but as the Inca Empire started to expand in the 14th century, they retreated to the middle of the lake to escape the fighting and slavery. They adapted to the conditions on the lake very well, thanks to the remarkable use they made of this aquatic plant, the totora. By being entirely self-sufficient, the Uros prospered and created a real civilization in the reeds, based on hunting and fishing.
The fish that we catch, and that our ancestors always caught, is the carash. We can do everything with this fish. Eat and barter.
Felix lives on the floating islands of Lake Titicaca. The lake has provided for almost all his needs since he was born. The Uros build boats of up to 15 meters long, which are able to carry 20 people. It takes hours of hard work to build a balsa, and it's always done in the traditional way.
And the monster within it may sound a lot like an existing creature. Stop when you can guess which one.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly right. Everybody gets one. It's about 12 feet long, with a dog-like head, a long, smooth body, ending in a tail with two flippers.
A platypus.
The turtle lake monster.
It's also known as a...
That flying dog thing from Neverending Story.
I mean, that's
Falcor.
That's the closest one so far.
Hurry, Falcor! The nothing's everywhere!
Don't worry. We'll reach the boundaries of Fantasia.
It sounds a bit like a seal or perhaps a manatee. And that's basically the main explanation for what this thing could be. It's described as peaceful, it just feeds on plants, but it's much different and much bigger than anything else in the lake. And it's been sighted since the 1900s. Manatees eat weed in shallow, sunny waters, and guess what Lake Titicaca is full of? Shallow, sunny waters full of weeds.
Yeah, but it's shallow, sunny waters at like 25,000 meters elevation.
Oh yeah, when I said that Lake Titicaca was unique, I forgot to mention that. It's one of the highest elevation accessible lakes in the world. But there's a theory that at one point, or maybe still today, there were manatees in that lake. There are manatees around South America in different locations, and it's theorized that maybe one time in the past there were manatees in this lake, and it would explain why they spotted this manatee-like monster feeding on seaweed peacefully.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's the best favorite animal, the manatees.
Oh, the huge manatee.
Otters, seals, and sea lions are all descended from an ancient group of hunting mammals that were tempted into the water to become fishermen. But they've retained very much the character of their ancestors. They're fierce and aggressive. But what about the early plant-eating mammals? Well, they too went into the water about 35 million years ago because there's quite a lot of water plants, particularly in shallow freshwater. And they too have retained the character of their ancestors, their gentle graces. And here, in the warm, clear waters of the Florida creeks, they still are. Manatee. They're so completely at home in the water that they never leave it. Oh dear. But what were those vegetarian ancestors? No one really knows. Some characteristics link manatees to elephants, in particular their teeth. These, like those of elephants, are flat, grinding molars. As they're worn down by the coarse grass, they're replaced by new ones that erupt at the back of the jaw and slowly move forward. Manatees are so big that nothing much attacks them, and with plenty of vegetation there for the taking, there's no need for them to be swift swimmers. Their forelimbs have become short flippers that can be used as paddles or to gently punt along the bottom. They still carry nails, vestiges of their terrestrial past. Their hind legs have disappeared altogether, and they propel themselves on their leisurely cruises with slow, powerful sweeps of their huge tails.
Next up on our journey is Mexico. Population, 126 million. Official language, Spanish. Official animal, does anyone know this one?
Vicente Fox.
Nope.
That was either going to be spot the fuck on or absolutely nothing.
It is specifically not just the golden eagle, but the majestic golden eagle.
Not the regular type.
Yeah.
Not enough majesty for this one.
Its national food, I've never heard of before, is mole poblano.
Mole. It's like a chocolate sauce.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And poblano is a type of chili.
Yeah.
Or pepper.
Yeah, you guys are exactly right. It's a blend of cocoa, hot peppers, and 20 other ingredients.
Look at
Spicy
us.
chocolate.
Yeah. Chief export, who wants to guess?
Mexican labor.
Yes. Let's discount...
Blankets.
No.
Sombreros?
Think about what Trump was mad at.
Walls.
No.
Mexicans.
Their chief export was cars, specifically Audi, BMW, Chevrolet, Infiniti, and Kia, to the tune of $4 billion a year.
That's right.
Fun fact about Donald Trump, when Donald Trump was forced to go get his mugshot done, which is hilarious, he had to report his height and weight. They do not measure, so they just took him at his word. He is 6'3" and 215 pounds, he says.
That's
you
the
know
same.
who else is 6'3" and 215
I
pounds?
do.
Jason goddamn Momoa.
Yeah.
So, you know, Ben Garrison was right.
I've seen Trump's thick dumpy. I just don't think it's within those ranges.
His Trump-a-dump?
Yeah, I've seen his Trump-a-dump. It is substantial.
Well, I mean, maybe Momoa just wears it in muscle and Trump just kind of wears it in his ass or whatever, you know?
Maybe Trump has an inflation fetish and he just pumps himself up every morning and we've all been fooled.
Don't be rude, pumps you up big and round.
The monster from Mexico we're going to be talking about is the Ahuitzotl. So the Ahuitzotl, it starts out looking sort of normal. It's like a combination of a dog, a monkey, and an otter. It's the size of a wolf, except its body is longer and more slender like an otter. It has slick waterproof fur, a canine head, and backwards-facing fish-catching teeth. All four of its limbs have monkey or raccoon feet able to climb and grip. According to the stories, it is often an ambush predator. It will submerge its body in shallow waters and streams and wait with one appendage above. Here's where it gets weird. The one appendage that it has is a 5-fingered human-like hand on the end of a long tail. It will make a sound from the water that sounds like a hurt child or a wailing infant. And once a worried bystander is attracted to what they think is a child in need, the monster will grab them with the hand at the end of its tail And the hand will grab them like around the neck and strangle them to death before then dragging them under the water.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It'd just be easier to drown somebody, like trying to forcefully throttle somebody.
I don't know why it doesn't pull them into the water, but the legends describe it like just like one hand choking out a motherfucker and then pulling him into the water.
I wonder how many children have drowned because people wouldn't rescue them because they thought it was this monster.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many of these legends there are worldwide, and it's almost teaching children a fear of the water.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's there to help them stay awake. The Kelpies?
Kelpies. The little horse guys.
Japan.
Well, even you talked about the Jamaican...
the River Mumma.
The River Mumma. Same
Yeah.
kind of deal. You know, you'd be scared of the water, and you don't want to drown.
And it's not like our culture is divorced from such things. Like we tell children to behave or Santa will not bring you the good gifts, you know, and other quasi-deities in our society, we tell our children that they are watching and to avoid certain things, certain boogeymen that may get them if they're misbehaving.
Krampus?
Oh, yes.
It's easier to tell scary stories than it is to actually teach your child the reason why they need to be careful around water.
Well, you have to talk to their faces and make sure they understand and have a conversation. It's a whole thing.
That sounds like work.
You also can't reason with children. They are tiny, non-logical machines.
It's
you
true.
must strike the fear into them.
They don't even pay taxes.
Throw them in the water, right?
Reminding everyone, I am a demon from hell. So take my advice immediately.
I was like, I take issue with this. Oh, wait.
I do want to point out as well, the Ahuitzotl comes from water and porcupine, so it's a spiky water thing. It's also the word for otter.
Oh, that's
Ahuitzotl.
So yeah, its tail hand will grab the victim by the throat and strangle them to death, and then the creature would very specifically only eat the victim's eyes, nails, and teeth, and then throw the rest of the body back out of the water.
That's not even the best part.
The least nourishing parts.
Yeah.
Oh, the eyes maybe, but like...
If this is a serial killer making up a monster to cover up his tracks, that's...
Just the story got way out of hand.
Oh, yeah. We found 30 bodies without eyes, nails, and teeth. What's the explanation? Is that
Cartels, probably.
Wait, also a monkey with like a hand on the end of the tail. Which Pokemon is that?
Oh, Apom!
Apom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice that.
That little purple guy.
That's right, too.
Hey, Apom, you followed us all of this way? Huh, well, what do you know? So welcome aboard!
It also had another trick. It could magically make an area start to just explode with fish life, like fish jumping out of the water, begging to be caught, which of course would attract any fishermen, and it would then strangle the fishermen to death and drag them underwater to eat their specific parts. How do you say it?
Ahuitzotl, or where we go? Ahuitzotl.
The Ahuitzotl was even mentioned in historical documents, as several Spanish conquistadors, when they lost men in the forest, wrote back to the king that this monster was responsible for killing their men.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't help it. It was a monster.
Yeah. Next, we're going to not the nation of betas, but the nation of Chad.
Good one.
Population 17 million. Official languages Arabic and French.
Arabic?
Yeah.
You mean Arabic?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. Moving on. The official animal, Chad is actually split into two regions, and they both have a different official animal. The north is the goat, and the south is the lion.
Those are very different animals.
Yeah. The national food is the boule, which is millet and corn porridge served with various sauces.
Sounds boring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The chief export is also boring. Anybody want to guess?
Millet?
Nope.
Wood.
Nope.
Sheep.
Diamonds.
Diamonds aren't boring.
Crude petroleum.
Oh, that is boring.
At $1.8 billion a year. I only say boring because like half the countries on Earth have a chief export of petroleum. We're going to be in a disaster when that stuff runs out. And the lake monster we're looking at today is the Lake Chad monster.
I'm pretty sure Chad is just the word for lake in that
Lake.
language, isn't it?
Oh,
Lake,
really?
Lake. Probably, maybe.
Makes sense.
I just typed in Lake Google, so that's where my head's going.
And last year we took a look at a couple African countries and their lake monsters. It kind of followed the theme. It seemed like the locals were fucking with the European explorers. And I think this continues because The Lake Chad monster started to be spotted in 2011 when locals told a visiting English professor many reportings of a large marsh-dwelling animal not resembling anything else in Africa inhabiting Lake Chad. The Lake Chad monster was described as a sheep-sized creature with round, bumpy back, much like a turtle. And instead of hind feet, it had flippers that it would drag behind it when it came on land. And it had clawed front feet that it dragged itself with, ending in a lizard-like head. It's sort of a blend between a large lizard, a seal, and a turtle.
Yeah, it sounds like a big bumpy turtle.
Yeah. A British Army doctor once claimed he spotted the creature chasing his boat as he traveled across the lake. When the creature was chasing him across the lake, he observed it going through an area of reeds. When he checked back later, those reeds were flattened as if a big canoe had been dragged through them. Many sightings mirror this. The creature is rarely hostile and seems only to pursue boats out of curiosity. And it has been suspected that maybe a smaller subspecies of elephant or hippo may be the culprit. Yeah.
I love hippos. They're my favorite animal.
Oh, you're gonna be
They're the most dangerous animal
I
in the
know.
world.
I love them.
Oh, you're gonna be pleased the next country.
It is confirmed, sorry. The Republic of Chad is named after Lake Chad, which comes from a word which means lake.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So it's Chad country. So it's lake country.
Yep. And Lake Chad is Lake.
Noise. Yeah, that monster is also very peaceful. It just chases things because it's curious in them, but maybe one day we'll discover a new subspecies of mini mammal in Lake Chad, like elephant or hippo, a new subspecies of that, and it'll gain a proper name that doesn't end in monster. Next nation we're going into is Madagascar. Population 29 million. Official languages Malagasy and French. The official animal, anyone want to guess?
Ring-tailed lemur?
Yeah.
That's the one. The exact lemur, too. The national...
Like King Julian.
Yeah.
Or Zaboomafoo if you have culture.
And the Crab Brothers. It's walking through the woods. Anyway. The national food is the Romazava, which is zebu meat. Actually, I didn't look up what a zebu was.
Like Zabu?
Zebu, I believe, is a large deer-like... It's a cow.
Oh.
Also known as Indocene cattle or humped cattle, a species of domestic cattle.
Oh, yeah. And it's served in a stew with tomatoes, rice, and onions.
Oh, they're cute.
Yeah. What do you guys think its chief export is? It's a type of bean.
Mung bean.
Nope.
Pinto bean.
Nope.
Kidney bean.
Nope, not kidney.
The bean of Josiah.
It's actually vanilla beans.
Oh, yeah, Madagascar vanilla. That would make sense.
That does make sense.
They make $619 million a year on vanilla beans.
Wow.
And the lake monster we're talking about today is the dwarf hippo.
Oh.
Yeah. This one is real. No shit. No fooling. No nut tugging.
Don't tug my nuts and tell me it's raining.
Me?
I'm not nut tugging no one. There's many hippos on Madagascar. They just might not be alive right now. Now, these are not a house hippo, mind you. The house hippos stand barely bigger than a jelly bean. This is a mini hippopotamus about the size of a large dog, about 150 to 200 pounds in weight as an adult. It exists in the archaeological history of Madagascar. In the mid-1800s, on an ancient dried-up riverbed in Madagascar, more than 50 fossils of these tiny hippos were unearthed, and many more have been found since. Now, they were supposed to have died out more than 1,000 years ago, at the turn of the new millennium. That's where their fossil record stops, and the last skeletons showed signs of being butchered and cooked. Yeah, if these things were extincted, guess what? Humans did it, yay!
I just put a picture of a baby hippo, which also looks like a scrotum.
No, it's
true.
cute.
Scrotum's gonna be cute.
No,
Yeah.
they can't.
Mine always move like a lava lamp. I've been told.
I've been told.
Mine's cute.
I don't know. I've tried to tell the doctor.
I don't like when they merge and then split apart again.
Oh, no. Yeah, but even though the fossil record for the dwarf hippo in Madagascar ends about 1,000 years ago, there's been consistent, multi-times-a-year sightings from locals of tiny little dog-sized hippos, either running into the underbrush when they go into unexplored areas or diving underwater not to resurface again. So there's a chance that there's a bunch of little hippos living in Madagascar hiding in, the deep jungle where humans barely ever visit.
I love that.
Almost every animal and plant species here exists nowhere else. And the dwarf hippo may be the most unique of all. No footage or pictures of the dwarf hippo exist. It was recorded in the mid-1800s by a French explorer, who unearthed nearly 50 hippo fossils from a dried-up swamp near the Mozambique Channel. The fossil data suggests they were alive 1,000 years ago, and repeatedly showed signs of being butchered. They were the only hippos to ever live in Madagascar. And while it's possible they were hunted into extinction, I believe there are areas of the island so remote they could be surviving.
So this specimen here is Lamerilii. This is the oldest species of dwarf hippopotamus in Madagascar and the one that seems to have made it the longest.
Right. So unusual, the dwarf hippo only loosely resembles its African cousin. And while an African hippo stands 6 feet tall and can be as long as 16 feet, these dwarves were barely 2.5 feet tall and less than 6 feet long, smaller than some breeds of dog. Their size is the result of insular dwarfism, which is when a species evolves to a smaller size to accommodate a smaller environment, like an island. Courtney has already located a villager who claims to have seen one. Hello. Salam.
Anarna Courtney. Anarnoka. His name is Manaka.
Manak? Forest. In all of his years of living here, does he know anything about the hippo?
Atitani Razno. Afanaita. Yeah, he said that he knows the word through Lamburanu, which means like a water pig. Right as he comes around with the cattle, he was just expecting to walk past the water, and all of a sudden, out of the water pops this head, and then this great big mouth opens and it pops back down, and they were both equally startled to see each other.
His description matched a dwarf hippo, and what I find even more fascinating is that when he told the other villagers, it was such a common enough animal that all of the villagers said, yeah, we know what it is. There's not many left, but this is what it is. It's a hippopotamus, which is crazy because that changes our understanding, knowing that some 70 years ago, this man who has no reason to lie to us saw a dwarf hippo right here, meaning that they were around a lot later than the records show them being here.
Next up is Spain. Population 47 million. Official language Spanish. Anyone want to guess the official animal?
Some sort of
Spaniards.
bird.
Not a bird.
Not a bird.
It's a bull.
Is it a bull? Yeah.
It is a bull. It's actually just the bull. I guess there's only one species of cow. No, there's lots of species of cow.
So many species of cow.
The bull.
Yeah. Its national food is paella.
Paella.
Hire me to be your
voiceover.
Yeah, your foreign affairs minister. I'm going to do a great job. I won't offend anybody.
Paella is definitely spelled paella.
Yeah. It's a saffron-flavored rice dish, often
Delicious.
served with shellfish. Chief export, similar to one we've talked about before. Anyone want to guess? Not a metal. Contains metals, though.
Humans.
Petroleum.
Nope. Its chief export is vehicles. Mercedes, Ford, Dodge, and Jeep at around $52 billion a year's worth.
Wow.
Yeah. And the lake monster we're going to look at today is the Banyoles monster. In northern Spain, there is a modest lake, 2 kilometers long, 130 meters deep at its deepest, pretty deep. But it's still small compared to a lot of lakes we have in Canada. Despite this, it is the largest lake in Spain. It is known as Lake Banyoles, officially, but it's better known as La Estany, or the pond. Half the year in Spain's winter and fall, it is covered by a thick fog, adding to its mystique. Despite being a popular tourist site, complete with water skiing and spearfishing, the local legends tell of a monster hidden in its depths. The Drac, the Mon, the Dryga, are some of its names. It first appeared in the lake in the 7th century, appearing as a raging water serpent the size of a tall tower, having rows of razor-sharp fins and spikes along its body that would cut through stone as well as flesh for anything that it passed. It attacked any animals or people that came near the lake, shooting flames from its eyes and exhaling a poisonous gas that would spoil food, wither plants, and spread diseases.
Me too.
Apparently, there's historical records that back in the 7th century, the people of Spain contacted Charlemagne, who was the king of the Franks, the Holy Roman Empire, begging Charlemagne for help. The king took pity and sent a platoon of knights, and they were all slain by the monster of the Spanish pond. A local monk intervened, stating loudly that the monster was simply a harmless herbivore not capable of violence. The locals mocked him, and the monk took off towards the monster's cave. A few days later, he came back with a monster who was now magically, just as he said, a docile, timid herbivore. From there, the legend splits into two parts. Some believe that the monster is still a peaceful herbivore just feeding on the plants of the lake to this day, but some believe that the old monster comes back from time to time. It changes back into its vicious form, where it starts to kill again. And anytime there is a boat accident in that lake, oftentimes in local media and rumors, the monster is blamed. In 1913, a passenger boat carrying 12 people sank, with no obvious cause discovered. All aboard were presumed dead, but only 2 bodies were ever discovered. The monster of the Spanish pond was blamed. In 1998, a pleasure boat sank unexpectedly, and out of its 141 passengers, 20 drowned. Again, the Banyoles monster was blamed. Sightings these days are few and far between, but many sightings and disasters and drownings are still blamed on the monster of the lake today.
Poor monster.
Yeah. Next, the Bahamas. Population 400,000. Official languages are English and 6 registered Creole languages. The official animal is, does anyone want to guess? It's a bird.
Rihanna.
It's a very vibrantly covered bird. Colored bird.
Is it a toucan?
No, not a toucan.
Peacock.
Not a peacock.
Parrot.
It eats shrimp, I'll say that.
Flamingo.
Yeah, flamingo. Yep. Official animal, the flamingo. And the national food is the conch.
Conch?
The conch.
Conch.
It's called it's pronounced conch?
Yeah, like conch shells.
Oh, damn. I never knew.
Might dispute that.
Yeah, I think I dispute that too.
Are we disputing it?
Disputation, yeah.
Okay.
Get a YouTube pronunciation.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's a giant sea snail. And the official food is not so much a dish prepared, it's just any dish prepared with that giant sea snail.
The word conch, also pronounced as conch,
there we go,
comes from the Greek conche and the Latin concha.
We were all
it's
right.
more likely to be conch, but it can also be pronounced conch. Conch, like most kinds of seafood, tastes salty and does not have a strong flavor. Sometimes like salmon and crab or escargot scallops or crayfish.
Salmonon. Its chief export is...
Isn't that a villain from Lord of the Rings?
Might be.
Aruman the Wise.
Yeah. Written in the Salmonrillion. Yeah.
Salmonrillion.
Yeah. Its chief export is it's an obscure one. It's passenger and cargo ships.
I was going to say offshore accounts.
Oh, I mean, yeah, might be. I guess that's more import than export. But its chief export is passenger and cargo ships for $153 million a year. And the lake monster we're going to be talking about is where I'm cheating a bit. It's not a lake monster, it's a sea monster, but it's the Lusca. In the 1800s, ship captains started reporting sightings of a large ocean monster that seemed to attack galleons around the Bahamas. It had multiple 100-foot-long octopus-like tentacles, but instead of an octopus head, it had the fearsome tooth-filled head of a great shark. Half octopus, half shark. In 1836, an American captain reported an attack on his ship, where massive tentacles grabbed 2 of his crew members and dropped them into its waiting mouth, eating them in a single bite. Soon, a theory formed. The Caribbean, and especially around the Bahamas, are dotted with deep blue holes. They're roughly circular areas of water, often sinkholes, that are much deeper than the shallow seas that surround them. And they say that this is where this massive sea creature hid between attacks. Because if you have a creature that's 100 feet long, like as big as a galleon, there's nowhere to hide in those shallow seas of the Caribbean, except the deep blue holes. The myth persists to this day, where certain captains and fishermen will give blue holes wide berths, attempting to avoid the Lusca. In 2009, a fisherman named Peter Douglas gave an account of seeing a massive tentacle while being inside of a blue hole. In 2016, another fisherman, Rupert Timer, seems to have spotted a baby Lusca, when he spotted a creature that was indeed half shark, half octopus, but it was only around 8 feet long. It's most likely a victim of mistaken identity and exaggeration. It's hard to estimate size at sea, it has no real reference points. and regular octopuses and sharks get very large, but to this day there's still sightings and fear generated by the legend of the Lusca.
You also missed that in 2010 the movie Sharktopus came out, whose Wikipedia article has the Lusca as a sea also. I would like to point out that there are sequels to Sharktopus, Sharktopus versus Terracuda, and Sharktopus versus Whalewolf. Also not a direct sequel, but there was also Piranaconda.
What's a Terracuda?
I'm going to guess it's a pterodactyl barracuda.
I thought Tara Reid barracuda.
Yeah, I was picturing like a white woman.
Yeah.
/ barracuda.
Yep.
The CEO of Simodyne, who created the Sharktopus, releases a barracuda pterodactyl hybrid known as the Terracuda.
Jesus Christ.
Intended for military use. Oh my God, Robert Carradine was in it.
Who's that?
That's Robert Carradine. Isn't that?
Did he died from autoerotic asphyxiation?
No, that's his brother David,
Oh.
who was Bill in Kill Bill.
Oh.
So Bill in Kill Bill's brother was in Sharktopus versus Terracuda.
Small world.
As long as man has been sailing the seas, there have been legends of monsters lurking below in the depths. Andros, the largest island in the Bahamas, is home to one of these legends, an octopus monster called Lusca. Andros is surrounded by blue holes, deep craters in the ocean floor. Some are nearly 500 feet deep. It is in these holes the Lusca is said to live.
In the Bahamas, there has been legends of these giant octopods attacking the boats of the local natives.
For cryptozoologists, these are not just tall tales, but sensationalized versions of a real-life monster octopus.
Next up on our journey is Malaysia. $33 million people. Official language is Malay. The official animal, anybody want to guess?
Is it a monkey?
It's a certain subspecies of a big mammal.
Tapir?
Nope.
Jaguar.
It's the Malayan tiger. Its national food is the nasi lemak, which is a rice boiled in coconut milk, spices, and peanuts. That sounds really good.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Oh God, it looks really good too.
Yeah. Who wants to guess its chief export?
Bamboo?
Nope. They're kind of an in-between man for a product, I'll say that.
Malaysians?
Are Malaysians assembled in Malaysia? I suppose they are.
Yeah.
In the bellies of pregnant Malaysian women, yeah.
Unicycles.
We always start with 2 parts.
Their chief export is electronic products. Apparently, a lot of computer chips and circuitry and wiring are sent to Malaysia, and then electronic products are assembled in Malaysia. So a lot of assembly plants that generate a lot of money for it. And the lake monster today we're going to talk about is the Seri Gummum dragon. Hundreds of years ago in Malaysia, a group of Jangkun tribesmen began to clear an area of forest to make room for crops. An enraged old woman suddenly appeared as if by magic, declaring that the spirits of the land were disturbed, and she planted her walking stick in the ground, daring the tribesmen not to knock it over. Sometime later, a dog belonging to the tribesmen started barking at a great leathery log laying on the ground.
A leathery log.
Yeah, that's what it described it, a great leathery log.
Some dog's just barking at a shit, and someone's like, "It's a dragon!"
I mean, the log was speared with a sharpened stake, and it started to bleed red blood. You weren't far off. Suddenly the log awoke, for it was not a log, but a slumbering serpentine dragon. Its scales were deep brown, it was hundreds of feet long, limbless, wingless, with a great jaw capable of swallowing horses whole.
It's a really big snake.
It's an anaconda.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but the wrong part of the world, though.
Oh, yeah. In the calamity of the great beast's violent awakening, the walking stick was knocked over. Water gushed from where the walking stick was planted. Been there. Eventually, over the next few years, Cheney Lake formed. That was the legend of how this lake formed, and the great dragon that was stabbed was dubbed the Seri Gummum dragon. Since then, according to legend, the dragon has been asking for sacrifices from communities surrounding the lake. It would do this by appearing in the dreams of kings, mayors, and nobles, basically saying that it will bring a flood if sacrifices are not made. Now, there are no confirmed historical accounts of sacrifices besides the written legends, but there are a lot of legends of regular people that would be drowned in the lake to appease the dragon. and often these sacrifices were said to delay or prevent devastating flooding. Even in recent history, in the 1940s, a tourist accidentally drowned in Lake Cheney, and many locals at the time attributed the mild flooding during rainy season to her drowning in the lake, satisfying the blood hunger of the dragon in the lake. In the 1980s, there was a tour driver who quit his job after sighting the dragon, saying, "It was the first time I saw the creature, which was as thick as a drum barrel. I immediately quit my job as a boat driver and I've never gone near the lake since."
Like fair.
Oh, yeah. In recent years, climate change is drying up the Cheney Lake, and perhaps the dragon beneath will soon be revealed, because the lake only has about 10 years left before it's dried up. Yay! The last country that we're going to explore on our list here, before we return home, is Japan. Population, 126 million. Official language, Japanese. Who would like to guess the official animal?
Pokemon.
Yes. Specifically Mankey, or the Japanese macaque. The macaque, I think, is like that snow monkey that'll go hot tubbing.
Yeah, it's the red-faced monkeys.
Yeah. National food. Who wants to guess this one?
Rice.
Not sushi, not rice. Ramen. Ramen is the national food of Japan. Chief export. We've already had a couple of these before. Anybody want to guess?
Pokemon.
Cards.
Cars. Yep. Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Mitsubishi, Subaru, and others to the tune of $135 billion a year.
But not Hyundai.
Isn't that Korean?
Yep,
Yeah, it's
that's
Korean.
why it wouldn't be Japanese
Oh,
export.
really?
Yeah, Hyundai is definitely Korean.
Yeah. And the lake monster we're going to talk about today is the Kappa.
Oh, those guys are cool.
Oh, yeah. In traditional Japanese folklore, Kappa are spirits of the water, demigods that reside in the lakes, streams, and swamps of Japan. They look vaguely humanoid, but very different. First, they have scaly reptile-like skin, webbed hands and feet. They have a beak instead of a mouth, and often have a turtle shell on their torso. The tops of their heads are also concave, like a bowl, and they store water in the top of their head.
In Ninja Turtles 3, when turtles go back in time to like ancient Japan, when they show up, one of the people is like, Kappa, Kappa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's
Oh,
a
shit.
clip of that.
Hey, Kappa! Kappa? Cappuccino? That makes me hyper.
One way to kill a Kappa is to cause it to spill the water on the top of its head. You could do this by appealing to the Kappa's obsession with politeness. If you bowed to a Kappa, it would be compelled to bow back, spilling the water on its head and killing it. Refilling this water would bring the Kappa back to life and cause the Kappa to be a slave to whomever refilled its water. Another weakness of the Kappa was its arms would detach very easily, like a Barbie doll. If you pulled hard enough, you could just pull the shoulder joint out of its socket. And then the Kappa, being polite, would then bargain with you, using its great knowledge of forbidden secrets to trade for its arm back. The Kappa, however, is no foolish pushover. At times in legend they went feral, turning into rabid beasts that could easily tear through a grown man. Even though they were roughly the size of a human, they were supernaturally strong, able to drag a full-grown horse into the water to drown it. Also, they share a trait with another creature we just talked about. They love a specific part. Kappa love the taste of human livers, and the Kappa who is greedy will butch multiple humans to have a nice pile of livers to devour. On the other side of the spectrum, some Kappa seem to like humans and share their knowledge of medicine to help heal sick humans. They would also visit the farmlands of desperate farmers and enchant the land to produce bountiful harvests. Today, the Kappa in Japan is mostly in the form of cartoonified Kappa characters used to sell laundry detergent and pudding cups. That's what the Kappa is these days. It's not so much something you encounter in the forest, it's more like a character that they use in merchandising.
Did you guys ever watch River Monsters with Jeremy Wade?
Oh, yeah.
So we did go to Japan looking for the Kappa.
Yeah.
And we pretty much figured out it is just like to teach kids to stay away from water. Because there actually is a giant Japanese salamander.
Oh, really?
And it will actually drown kids.
Oh, shit.
Those things are huge, too.
Yeah, they're monsters. Like, they could suction and hold you in the water.
They're like 6 feet long.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, yeah, that could eat a kid. That could eat a toddler.
It doesn't eat you. It just fucking doesn't like being disturbed, and they're very aggressive.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's like, I'm just going to, like,
So I'm just
drag you in.
drown the threat that's trying to attack me. And
Yeah.
Grows up to 5 feet long, weighs up to 55 pounds,
Jesus.
25
They're
kilos.
massive. So that could definitely drown a kid.
Holy shit. Yeah, I can see a Kappa coming from that. Jesus.
It's only the third largest salamander in the world.
What?
There
Only the third.
are two bigger salamanders.
Are they in China? Are the two bigger ones in China?
They're both in China.
Yeah, there's South China giant salamander and the Chinese giant salamander.
That was the one I was thinking that can get up to 6 feet, at least one of them.
I mean, it's still big. Like
they're huge.
That's a large salamander.
Yeah, biggest salamander I've seen is like 3 inches long.
Imagine like swimming in like a stream in Japan and like that thing comes face to face with you.
Nope. Nope.
Take the time to bow.
Hard no.
It didn't work. Oh shit.
Yeah. The largest salamander in North America is called the Hellbender salamander. And it's only 2 feet long. That's still pretty big.
Yeah, ish.
I still wouldn't want to come face to face with that.
I still think like 6 inches is pretty big.
It's average.
Yeah, no.
It's average. It's okay. It's a little bit cold.
That is actually over average.
Oh, just in the pool, you know.
Was in the pool.
Miyazaki Prefecture, Japan, May 2014. At the historic Byakanojo Shimazu residence, the mummified remains of a sea animal with webbed hands and feet are put on public display. Discovered in 1818, the bones are the first of their kind to be exhibited and are purported to be from the legendary Kappa, a species of amphibious humanoid creatures believed to lurk in the waters of Japan.
The Kappa, which translates as water child, is a creature that is usually about 5 feet in height, has scaly skin, and is usually blue or green in color. It has a turtle shell on its back and a beak, as well as a kind of plate on the top of its head in which it always has to carry water. If it spills this water, then it loses all of its power and it can die within a very short period of time. So the Kappa is basically a water demon.
The Kappa is perceived to be a very malevolent and quite violent creature. And in fact, children are warned to stay away from bodies of water because the Kappa will actually drag them in and drown them.
While accounts of the Kappa are rare in modern times, there are still sightings in remote areas, like the Fukuoka Prefecture. In fact, to this day, signs can be found posted near bodies of water throughout Japan, warning of the Kappa.
At the end of the episode, as always, we'll return back to North America. Last year, I talked about Saskatchewan and the Turtle Lake Monster to end off the episode. This year, an American state, California. California, population 39 million, state language English, official animal, the extinct Californian grizzly bear. The state food is 4 collective nuts, almond, walnut, pistachio, and pecan.
Of course it is.
And the chief export is computer products to the tune of $42 billion a year.
You can collect my nuts.
I totally fucking cheated on this one. Yeah.
Aww.
And the totally not associated with water at all monster we're going to look at today is the wind tosser. And I have never wanted anything to be more real in all my life.
Look at all those legs.
Yeah. Introducing the wind tosser. You know those childhood toys where you need to match the plastic shapes with holes? The square block goes in the square hole, the round block goes in the wrong round hole. This creature's body would fit perfectly through the triangle hole.
Yep.
The body has 3 sides. It's like a furry triangle sausage. On each of its 3 sides, it has 4 cougar-like legs.
Just an evil Toblerone.
Yeah. It is.
Ach, mein Dreihund.
Forbidden Toblerone.
And it hunts by, when it runs forward, it also twists its body in a circle like a top. So this thing's coming at you, it's spinning like a sideways Tasmanian devil. Apparently, its head and tail don't move while this is happening, so its head and tail are just made so they can stay stable while the rest of its body is just spinning like a sideways top along all those legs. You want to know how to defeat one of these things if it's chasing you down?
Yes.
Stake through the heart.
That might
Silver
work.
bullet.
Its weakness is pipes. Apparently,
these guys here.
Oh yeah.
Take it to the gun show and it is dead.
If you run inside a culvert or a big round pipe, apparently this thing will be unable to escape, as all its legs will be touching the pipe all at once, and they will just spin forever in a circle until it exhausts itself to death.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a way to go.
Yeah, so that's the wind tosser. I hope it's alive. I want that more than world peace. I want everything for this creature. It's very important to me. Yeah, so that's it, our tour of Lake Monsters of the World. Happy October, happy Halloween. For Occultae Veritatis, I'm Benoit Gallifrey.
Sage Furry.
Leon Filger.
Richard Bigley.
The soundboard, Demon.
And I'm Quentin.
I'm Cody.
And I'm Arthur.
Alrighty, see you next time. Happy Halloween.
Good night.
Love you, bye.
Hail Satan.
Only eat craft-wrapped candy.
Playing us out this episode, we have Vernon Dahlhart with The Wreck of the Old 97. See you next week.
Give him his orders at Monroe, Virginia, saying, Pete, you're way behind time. This is not 38, but it's old 97. You must put her in center on time. He looked round, says to his black greasy fireman, just shove on in a little more coal. And when we cross that White Oak Mountain, you can watch old 97 roll. It's a mighty rough road from Lynchburg to Danville, and a line on a 3-mile grade. It was on that grade that he lost his average, and you see what a jump he made. Was going down grade, making 90-mile-an-hour when his whistle broke into a scream. He was found in the wreck with his hand on the throttle and a scalded to death with a steam. Now, ladies, you must take warning from this time now and on. Never speak hard words to your true love, and husbands, he may leave you and never return.